$100, sir. Any advance at 1600.
On October 4th, Swann Galleries is offering the Golden State Mutual Life Insurance Company's collection of African American fine art. This is the second sale of our new African American fine art department, which is following the first sale we held in February of this year. We're very excited to be offering the Golden State Mutual Life collection of African American fine art. This is a special historic collection for many reasons. First of all, Golden State and its collection is one of the oldest corporate African American art collections in the country. Golden State Mutual Life in Los Angeles is one of the oldest insurance companies in the United States, owned privately by African Americans, and it was founded in 1925. The collection was assembled primarily in the 60s through the 1980s, but got its start early in 1950. The company had the foresight to not only promote the arts, but include it within its corporate surroundings. The company began to expand, and in 1950 hired Paul Williams, a famous African-American architect, to build their new headquarters in Los Angeles. At the same time, Golden State Mutual Life commissioned two artists, Hale Woodruff and Charles Alston, to paint two murals in the company's lobby that would depict the history of African Americans in California. These two murals became the cornerstone of an important art collection. In 1950, the company opened this new headquarters in Los Angeles, and in 1959 they hired William Pajot, an African-American artist from New Orleans, as a company public relations director. He was also given the task to assemble an art collection. The collection shows the breadth of African Americans' work in the United States and California. It ranges from the early works of Henry Ossawa Tanner to the contemporary artist David Hammons. It shows the works of African American master artists like Elizabeth Catlett, Charles White, Jacob Lawrence, but also many other artists from California that are just now being introduced to auction. The collection is really a time capsule of the period because William Pajot was not only a company director, he was an artist. He knew many of these artists and was able to assemble great examples of their work at a time when they were working, unlike corporate collections today that are based around artists' name and their investment value. This collection is historic because it really shows the achievements of artists from that time. In this auction, there are 94 works from the collection. This catalog is different, and we treated this sale differently because it is a historic collection, and we wanted to present it in a catalog that would represent the collection. We wanted to show the historic achievements, so the artist's work is presented chronologically, and we wanted to imitate a museum-type catalog. We also included artist biographies, exhibition lists, and bibliographies to really present as much information as possible. We really believe that this catalog will serve as a historical record, and we really wanted it to represent the collection. Lot 1 is a painting by Henry Ossawa Tanner, Seated Arab, which is oil on a wood panel. Henry Ossawa Tanner is the oldest artist in the collection in the sense that he was a 19th century artist. He was one of the African American trailblazers. He trained at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts, and in the early 1890s moved to Paris. The opportunities there presented him the chance to work without facing racial discrimination. At the same time, he was able to work into the academy there, have his works accepted by the Salon. This is a small study on board. It's not a large canvas. It's not one of his academic paintings. This is much more fresh and intimate, a direct observation that he did amongst his travels in the Holy Land. Henry Ossawa Tanner really focused on scenes from Palestine and Israel, and he really wanted to show the biblical story from a perspective on the ground. This is one of his oil sketches done on a small board that he could bring back. So it has that loose brushwork, that don't necessarily see in his larger finished canvases that he showed in the salon. But at the same time, it's a wonderful modern impressionist type of painting. His work is very scarce. It's hard to find works of his of any size at auction. This work has provenance, a history. As you can see here on the back of the painting, it has his address in Paris, which helped us date the painting. It has the estate stamps of his son, Jesse Tanner. When the work passed to his family, the family had an ink stamp made so that the work could be documented. And also we have the gallery labels, Grand Central Galleries, which was a well-known New York gallery in the mid-century, in 1950s here in the United States. Lot 5 is a sculpture by Beulah Woodard entitled Maudel. Beulah Woodard is an interesting artist. We really don't know much about her, but there's a growing history. Academics have been writing about her recently. She was working at the same time as many other famous African-American artists that we know much more of in New York and Chicago. But in the 1930s, she achieved quite a significant amount of fame. She was the first African-American artist, not just female artist, but the first African-American artist to show at the Los Angeles County Museum. And Beulah Woodard was a sculptor who worked in a natural realism. Her early work shows the influence of Europe. It has all the signs of someone who studied Rodin. It sort of captures an emotional moment. It has a certain realism to it and drama, but the work we've shown here on Maudel is a more naturalistic observation, and that's really what Beulah Woodard became known for, in that she really wanted to portray African Americans and Africans in a realistic light. In an era where there were a lot of stereotypes and caricatures, Beulah Woodard wanted to present Africans and African Americans as they really were. Her show, the LA County Museum, showed many African masks and heads like this one, where the natural beauty of the figure was shown. Also, there was an attention to detail with the hair and the jewelry. This bust is of a famous model. Maudel posed for many artists at the time, from Edward Weston to Manuel Bravo, the photographers, and she is a dancer who had a career as a model, and she also became a sculptor later in life. These works by Beulah Woodard are a significant part of the collection, and this is the first time any of her work has been sold at auction before. Lot 8 is a painting by Huey Lee Smith. Slum Song is oil on canvas from 1944. This is an early example of Huey Lee Smith. His paintings from the 1940s are very scarce, but this already shows the style and the subject matter that we know Huey Lee Smith for. It shows a young man in isolation. His work is really about representing the isolation and the psychological space of African Americans in urban settings, and this is a very stark urban scene. Slum Song is one of the few paintings in this collection that was lent to a museum, and it was included in the important 1976 exhibition curated by David Driscoll, 2 Centuries of Black American Art in Los Angeles. Huey Lee Smith is an interesting artist who became an important painter during the WPA movement. He was from Cleveland, and he was actually a high school classmate of Jesse Owens, whose success in sports inspired Huey Lee Smith to pursue his own interests and goals, which were in the arts and theater. He was part of Caramoo House, which is an important theater and arts group in Cleveland. But he really pursued painting and became the artist we know today.